Artists, today I'm going to show you how to sew the two sides of your soft felt sculpture together. The very first thing that we need to do is we need to thread our needle. We've got two parts to a needle. We've got the sharp end and we've got the head of the needle. The head of the needle is where you are going to thread your string. And sometimes it's hard to just put the edge of the string in because it kind of starts to fray. So what I like to do is I like to kind of fold it a little bit so that it's less frayed, and that helps me when I'm trying to thread it. Sometimes it takes you a couple times, but you want to thread your needle. When you get your string through, you want to give it just one tie. You don't want to necessarily knot it because you want this to come out easily, but just one loop and pull through to secure your string onto your needle. The other end of the string you need to knot so that way it doesn't pull all the way through when you're sewing. So you're just going to do a loop and then pull the end of that string through the loop to give yourself a knot. Now your string and your needle are ready for sewing. Because we glued our features on, we don't have to worry about sewing these. We just need to sew our two halves of fabric together. We eventually need to stuff this with our stuffing, so we need to make sure we make a plan as to where we're going to stuff. So if I want to stuff from the top, I'm probably going to start sewing here. I'm going to sew all the way around to here, and then I would stop. We don't want the knot of our thread to be visible, so we want to just start on one side of our felt sculpture. So I'm going to start from the bottom of the top layer. So I'm not going through both layers first. I'm just going through that top layer, and I don't want to poke too close to the edge, and I also don't want to poke too far away from the edge because we want to be able to stuff this, and if our thread is too far in, we won't have enough of a pocket to add our stuffing to. So I'm going pretty close to the edge, and you might have to maneuver it a little bit to get it in the right spot. Be careful that you don't poke yourself with the sharp part of the needle. So I have poked through just the top half, and I'm going to pull my string through, and I don't want to pull it all the way through, and even though I knotted it, sometimes that knot does pull through, so I'm going to stop when I see that that knot is touching. And I don't want to see this, so I want to make sure that that gets tucked inside. And it's important that our felt sculpture stays pretty even while we're sewing, so that way it doesn't move on you. I'm going to show you a simple running stitch, and an easy way to remember the pattern is over, under, over, under. So when you are on top, you have to go under, and when you're under, you have to come back on top. So here we go. We're on top, so we need to go under. So I am basically just making a line, a small dashed line. I don't want to go too big because this would be a pretty big area that stuffing could come through. So I'm going through both pieces of my felt. I noticed that I didn't go through both there because it wasn't lined up again. So I need to make sure that I'm going through both. So I'm double checking that I'm going through both, and I'm pulling it all the way through. Careful not to get a knot. And this is my first stitch. So I have stitched through both pieces of my fabric. Now I am under. I'm on the bottom of my sculpture. So I need to get back up to the top. So I'm going to do the same thing. It's a dashed line. So a running stitch. Remember, not too far away, not too close together, and we don't want to get too close to the edge, and we don't want to get too far from the edge. So we don't want to poke our fingers, so make sure your finger is out of the way. Sometimes you might have to help guide your needle through both pieces of felt. Sometimes if it's easier, you can go through the first layer of felt before you go through your second layer of felt. Sometimes your needle just needs a little extra help. So I'm going through both ends of my fabric and pulling all the way up and through. So now I have one stitch on the bottom and one stitch on the top. And I'm going to continue all the way around to this side of my sculpture. Remember, I need to keep room left open to stuff this. So I'm going to pause the video, but I'm continuing with just a dashed line. So it's a running stitch of going over and under, over and under. When I'm on top, I go to the bottom. When I'm on the bottom, I come back to the top. So I'm going to pause and catch up. Now that I've caught up to the other side, I want you to take a look at the stitches. I want you to pay attention to how far apart they're spaced. We've got those stitches showing up on the front and the back, and we don't have any really big gaps, so that's going to help us make sure that there's stuffing doesn't come through. And we also don't have any stitches that are too close to the edge or too far away from the edge. So we are now ready to stuff this felt sculpture. You don't need much, and you can actually break this stuffing into smaller pieces to help you. We're just going to put it through the opening that we've created. You can kind of use your fingers to place it in certain places, especially if you have little features that you need to shove the stuffing into. You don't want your felt sculpture to be stuffed so much that you can't sew it back up though, so you really don't need much of the stuffing. You saw how much I had in front of me, and it looks like that's going to be plenty. So now that we have stuffed the sculpture, we need to continue our stitching all the way to the edge, and then I will pause and show you how to close off the end of your stitch. When you end your felt sculpture, you're going to want to end on the back. So I have finished my last stitch with my needle and thread on the back, and the easiest way to finish this off is to take one of your loops that you've already done, so one of your stitches, and I'm just going to run my needle up through that stitch, which creates a loop, and inside that loop is where I'm going to put my needle. And if I pull that all the way through, it kind of creates a knot. And if I do that twice, I feel like that's a pretty secure way to finish off your felt sculpture. Then you can take your scissors and you can trim pretty close to your knot. And you have just finished sewing a soft felt sculpture.